Well, it turns out that the people that flock to DEI and the alphabet crew, that all those causes in the military, just to stand out and be celebrated, they're having that come back to bite them now. Weird. I know. For the last 4 years, let's just say we kind of lost track of the mission, at least at the upper level, where it literally became a currency to be part of the weirdest possible group you could. Specifically, this trans stuff. We had ships deployed. They were cutting rainbow cakes with sabers at sea. Navy making drag queens as official spokesmen. We have transgender awareness, weird flags, like flying on military, like that stuff. Come on, guys. All right, all this kinds of stuff. Nothing to do with killing bad guys. And thank God, Pete Hegseth said it best.
We are leaving wokeness and weakness behind. No more pronouns, no more climate change obsession, no more emergency vaccine mandates, no more dudes in dresses. We're done with that.
Yes. Effective June 6th, there will no longer be trans men or women or anything like that in the military. But I have a question. Why is it only 1,000? Say it's only 1,000. There are as many as 1,000, actually. Because we were told an order like this would cost the military more than 15,000 valuable service members. So which is it? The same media that touted such high numbers of trans people honorably serving in the military are now saying it's much, much lower. Are they trying to hide these people amongst the ranks? They do note that they are giving others 30 days to self-identify under this new direct issue. But I wonder how many are actually going to hide. Which is funny because all these people were so overly virtuous when they had the protections of a woke administration. We were told that they were an asset too.
This idea that we spend years of being non-deployable is just simply untrue. I've never missed a deployment. I can fight tonight.
They've paid for nothing for my transition. I paid out of pocket because I wanted to be mission ready as fast as possible.
But that's actually not entirely true. They might have gone on a deployment somewhere, but they weren't on a deployment anywhere specific. They were on a catered deployment to their medical condition, which that's what the DoD considered this even then. That requires certain things, medications and hormone therapy. They're not going to a remote village in Afghanistan, this is my point. There's a reason we use the same gun for everybody in the military. So it's the same thing with the same ammunition that takes the same magazines. Trans people are not the same. They require hormone therapy, among many other things that are addition to every other service member. They have a suicide rate at nearly 50%. That's according to UCLA. They don't make the military stronger, but they were recruited under the lie that they did. And now it's upsetting people who were told it was okay, who put the agenda of themselves and this woke agenda over the mission. But this is the process of cleaning out the government. You're going to have to break some eggs to make an omelet here. You have to upset a system that was developed with the intent of not being able to be undone. This ideology was ingrained so deep in our military for 4 years. They even targeted this type of person for recruitment while pushing out staunch conservatives under the guise of vaccine mandates or whatever else. And we just don't need to gut these people, the trans people, people like that on screen. We just don't need to get rid of them. We need to get rid of all the people that supported them, that thought this was a good idea also.
I received an outpouring of support when I came out.
They're my family and they have my back.
At the end of the day, all anybody cares about is whether I can perform my job when I have that uniform on.
You know how many high-ranking officials thought this was a good idea to have people like that in drag walking up and down aircraft carrier decks? We're seeing these quiet rebellions all over the military right now, which I would never have considered in my time, okay? Never considered that when I was in the military. They're covering the command photos of Hegseth and Trump at their bases. Commanders, like the Greenland's commanding officer, literally sent out an email after Vice President Vance came in and said all these things. Oh, this is not our actual position. Yes, it is. He's the vice president. You got to get rid of all these people. That's what we're rebuilding now. The government is infested with self-serving wokies, some of which are stealing from the taxpayer. And they're not going to go quietly either. They're filing all kinds of lawsuits backed by who knows who. The military, though, it's the easiest place to start hacking these people out because of the broad powers of the chain of command. Doesn't fall into regular unions and stuff like that. But there is not a thing you can tell me, too, that will make me believe that government will be less efficient if you cut 50% of it. I think it'll work better because this cancer is everywhere. We've seen this with Doge. And this one just popped up the other day. This African aid agency, these people barred and locked the door to keep Doge from entering. They sued under privacy concern. And like Elon said, the only people against this are the ones who are doing something wrong. And boy, was he right. This place, the African Development Foundation, I don't even know why this is a thing, but it is. And past tense, they got $45 million. So it wasn't a big agency. So it took a little while for Doge to get through the main items and then get over this one. But it's probably the most corrupt agency they have found to date because, and this is the Daily Wire noting, quote, its employees have been sounding the alarm for years about a culture of self-dealing abuse and anti-white discrimination. They were so resistant to Doge coming in and auditing them that the U.S. Marshals had to get involved. They had to escort the Doge people in there. These people at this agency were so brazen that they were literally sending money, like grant money from their agency, over to Africa via authorized programs, or what they authorized programs. And then they were having the condition that those programs would send the money right back to them, their friends, or other people working there. They would deposit these big checks in their own bank accounts. One woman who spoke on Background said that, quote, she was directly wired $17,000 from a program that they granted to Kenya. She showed them the bank records. Another one, this is great, on the payroll of an African partner company that received these grants, okay, that turned around, and this partner company that was given U.S. tax dollars under a grant program turned around and paid a Washington, D.C. federal employee with no taxes being withheld. I wonder if she claimed that. In another instance, a Kenyan journalism group called Africa 24. Why the heck are we funding that? I have no idea. But was told to use they were told as part of their grant conditions that to use the money that they were being granted to pay the salaries of Americans at the same federal agency that was giving them the money in the first place at the D.C. headquarters. Crazy. Look, this is the same stuff that was happening at USAID. On paper, the money would go out the door to a charity or an NGO, and then it's not accountable to the government anymore. They would just send it right back to the people who granted them after taking a little off the top for themselves. This is not speculation. They have the bank receipts. This is why people in D.C. hate Elon. He's ending the gravy train. But what's even crazier is that the people who are supposed to be working for us, by the way, people who are on government payroll, are so mad at Elon, that is so mad that he's discovering folks stealing money from us, that 71% of Democrats in a survey would agree with a law to put Elon Musk in jail. This is crazy. I mean, for what? Let's play out a law. How do you write a law for that? Well, if you expose government corruption, then you can go to jail. That sounds awful communist to me. This is supposed to be the party of democracy. At least that's what they told us. They've been calling Republicans fascist for the last 9 years. Yet they're the ones who want to throw their political enemies in jail. Donald Trump, all those trials, J6ers, everybody associated with Trump, and now Elon Musk, anyone else who supports them. They use violence to intimidate people on college campuses and basically anywhere else they see fit. Consider this. We now live in a world where one party is rooting out corruption, fraud, waste, and abuse, and the other party wants to throw you in jail for it? Not one of these liberals wants to throw any of these people who are actually stealing our money in jail. They were not battling, they're not batting an eye when there was twice as many credit cards open as government employees. There was no outrage from the same crowd when millions of dead people were eligible for Social Security. That there were thousands of government employees receiving unemployment while they were also employed by the federal government. But 71% of that party wants to make a law that would throw Elon Musk in jail. Okay.
You know, folks, I thank God for my wonderful wife, my kids, my country, the greatest nation ever. And Americans like you who believe in the truth, the Chris Salcedo Show will never stop fighting for you.
The Chris Salcedo Show, for the news you need to know.